Welcome to SATV News. This is Anaf Hussain with our headlines. BNP plans to democratize politics along with economy, says Amir Khosrow. No force can depoliticize Bangladesh, says Moin Khan. Government bias towards one party raises fears of rigged polls, says Jamaat's Naiba Amir. US makes up to Taka 18 lakh visa bond mandatory for countries B1, B2 applicants from January 21. Now in details. BNP Standing Committee member Amir Khosrow Mahmood Chaudhary today said that BNP plans to democratize not only politics but also the economy. He also said BNP is thinking about improving the quality of life of people of every class and profession, starting back from blacksmith, potters and weavers in the country. At the same time, he asserted that Tariq Rahman is the torchbearer of democracy for the days ahead. The BNP leader made these remarks while speaking at a morning meeting organized by Zia Parishad at the Qazi Nazrul Islam Auditorium of the National Press Club, commemorating Khalida Zia, stating that Khalida Zia never compromised, Khosrow said. She remained firm throughout. Those who fled made compromises, added Mr. Khosrow. Meanwhile, in another program, BNP senior leader and former minister Dr. Abdul Moin Khan said, no force or superpower will be able to depoliticize Bangladesh. He further said that an election was held in 2008 that was stage managed with the involvement of various local and foreign forces. BNP's acting chairman Tariq Rahman is set to embark on a 4-day visit to the northern districts of Bangladesh. According to the party, the visit will primarily involve participations in religious and social events. The BNP has emphasized that the visit will not violate the code of conduct issued by the Bangladesh Election Commission. The party has submitted applications regarding the visit to the Election Commission as well as to the respective district commissioners, district election officers and Upazila election officers. According to the proposed schedule, Tariq Rahman will depart from Dhaka on January 11, traveling via Tangail and Shirajganj to Bogura. On January 12, he will leave Bogura and travel via Rangpur and Dinajpur, staying overnight in Thakurga. On January 13, he will proceed from Thakurga through Panchagor, Nilphamari and Lalmonirhat. On January 14, he will travel directly from Rangpur to Bogura before returning to Dhaka. During visit, Tariq Rahman will participate in prayers and pay respects at the graves of Maulana Abdul Hamid Khan Bhashani, Abu Soid Taiba Majumdar and other martyrs of July and the Long Democratic Movement. He will also meet injured July activists and the families of martyrs. Jamaat-e-Islami Naib Amir Syed Abdullah Mahmood Taher has said that the government and law enforcing agencies have title towards a specific political party. He also raised concerns over the fairness of the upcoming general election. He made these remarks during a briefing today at the party chief's office in the capital's Bashundara area. Without naming any specific political party, he also said Jamaat-e-Islami is left wondering if the upcoming election will once again be a fixed election similar to those of the past, he added. At the same time, he said this kind of fixed election will lead Bangladesh towards destruction. On behalf of Jamaat-e-Islami, he further called upon the government and the Election Commission to remain neutral and play their part in the protecting in the country. Earlier in the morning, a 3-member delegation from the European Union paid a courtesy call on Jamaat chief Shafiqur Rahman at his office in Bashundara. Vote counting in Jagannath University's Central Student Union election is underway, with preliminary results from 14 of the total 39 centers announced so far. According to the Election Commission, Chhatradal-backed candidates are leading in vice president race in the centers counted, while Islami Chhatra Shibir supported candidates are ahead for the General Secretary and Assistant General Secretary posts. Based on results from the 14 centers, A.K.M. Rakib, backed by Chhatra Dal and Chhatra Odhikar Parishad, is leading the VP contest with 1,673 votes. His closest rival Shibir-supported candidate Riazul Islam has received 1,424 votes, leaving Rakib ahead by 249 votes. In the GS race, Shibir-backed candidate Abdul Alim Arif is leading with 1,587 votes, while Chhatra Dal-supported candidate Khadijatul Kubra has secured 793 votes from the counted centers. For the AGS post, Shibir candidate Masood Rana is in the lead with his nearest rival, Chhatra Dal-backed BM Atikur Rahman Tanzil. A total of 197 appeals have been filed with the Election Commission so far against the returning officer's decision on acceptance and rejections of nomination papers for the upcoming 13th National Parliamentary election, said officials today. On the third day today, the filing of appeals began at 10 a.m. at the EC building in the capital's Agarga, where candidates started submitting appeals at 10 regional booths set up at the appeal filing center. EC officials said that by 12:15 p.m. today, a total of 197 appeals had been filed over the 3 days, as the process started on Monday last and will continue till January 9. Earlier on Tuesday, 122 appeals were filed with the EC on the second day against the returning officer's decision on acceptance and rejections of nomination papers. On the first day, 41 appeals were filed against rejections of nomination papers and 1 appeal was filed against acceptance of nomination papers. International Crimes Tribunal 1 today set January 11 for holding a hearing on charge framing in crimes against humanity case against ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's son and former ICT Affairs Advisor Sajib Wajid Joy and State Minister for ICT Division Junaid Ahmed Polok. The tribunal passed the order this morning. The ICT won on December 17 last year, ordered the appointment of a State Defense Counsel to represent Sajib Wajid Joy, who remains at large in the case. The tribunal passed the order as Joy failed to appear before it despite the publication of newspaper notices asking him to do so. Earlier on December 10, the tribunal ordered the authorities concerned to publish notices in daily newspapers asking Sajib Wajid Joy to appear before it on December 17. Chief Prosecutor Muhammad Tajul Islam took part in the hearing, while Advocate Liton Ahmed stood for another accused in the case, former State Minister for the ICT Division Junaid Ahmed Polok. On December 14, the tribunal issued an arrest warrant against Joy after taking into cognizance the formal charge brought against him and former State Minister for the ICT Division Junaid Ahmed Polok. Bangladeshi nationals applying for B1, B2 visas of the United States will be required to submit a visa bond from January 21, after Bangladesh was included a new pilot program announced by the U.S. Department of State. According to information published on Travel State GO, Bangladesh is among dozens of countries whose citizens have been identified as subject to visa bond requirements. Under the program, any Bangladeshi passport holder found otherwise eligible for B1, B2 visa must post a bond of $5,000, $10,000 or $15,000. The bond amount will be determined by a consular office at the time of the visa interview and is based on overstay risk assessment using B1, B2 overstay rates from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Entry-Exit Overstay Report. Viewers, we are taking a short break. Stay with us.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900।
Welcome back. You're watching SATV News. News from abroad. U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said many Cuban soldiers were killed by U.S. forces in capture of ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Trump made the comments during a speech to Republican members of the U.S. House of Representatives. Trump also said he will meet with 14 health insurance companies in a few days. Healthcare costs are expected to be a major issue during this year's midterm election in the United States. Earlier, Cuba announced that names and ranks of the 32 Cuban military and interior ministry personnel killed in Venezuela during the U.S. raid. Meanwhile, Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez announced on Tuesday the activation of an agro-food industrial and communal high command to protect the nation's productive apparatus after the U.S. attack and capture of Nicolas Maduro. Rodriguez emphasized Venezuela's active resistance and spiritual growth in facing external threats and aggression. She called on Venezuelans to work towards fulfilling their duty to the nation throughout national unity across all productive sectors. The strategic body is set to enable direct coordination between productive sectors and the national executive to ensure the flow of essential goods and industrial production remains uninterrupted. Earlier, Rodriguez declared 7 days of mourning for members of the military killed in the U.S. raid over the weekend to capture leader Nicolas Maduro. Around 24 Venezuelan officers were killed in the attack, according to the South American government. Many people believe that the United States can do whatever it wants after the arrival of the wealthy businessman Donald Trump in power in the United States. New fears have arisen in the minds of the world about the country. Anaf Hussein's report.
Trump do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
History says that 2 years after being elected as the first president in 2017, Trump confirmed that he was interested in buying Greenland from Denmark. Donald Trump brought up the Greenland issue again after coming to the White House for the second time in January 2025. The global concern over the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in our operation has had the biggest impact on Denmark and Greenland. New fears have arisen about the future of this strategically important island, rich in mineral resources. Immediately after the Venezuelan operation, Donald Trump brought up the issue of establishing U.S. control over the strategically important Greenland again.
Strategically for the United States, it would be nice. And we're a big ally of Denmark, and we help Denmark, and we protect Denmark, and we will.
In response, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has warned in clear terms that if the US tries to occupy Greenland, the very existence of the military alliance NATO will be in question. In an interview with Danish broadcaster TV2 on Monday, Frederiksen said that if the US launches a military attack on a NATO member country, it will be the end of everything. In other words, this will not only end NATO, but also the security structure that Europe has relied on since World War II will collapse.
I think we have been very clear from the Kingdom of Denmark, with great support from the European partners and the European Union, that everybody has to respect the sovereignty of all national states in the world.
On Sunday, on the way back to Washington from Florida, Trump told reporters that Greenland is now strategically very important. He claimed that Greenland is filled with Russian and Chinese ships. Donald Trump also mocked the steps that Denmark has taken to strengthen Greenland's security. He sarcastically said that Denmark's arsenal in the Arctic region has only added another dog sled.
But that whole area is becoming very important, and for a lot of reasons, the routes are, very direct to Asia, to Russia, and you have ships all over the place, and we have to have protection. So we're going to have to make a deal on that.
Greenland, the world's largest island, with a population of just 57,000, has repeatedly said it does not want to be part of the United States. The situation is now such that one country is destabilizing the entire world in an attempt to prove its power, and it may push the world towards a new war or peace crisis, the beginning of a dramatic moment in history. Anaf Hussain, SATV. Colombia's foreign minister on Tuesday said the country's military must defend the country's territory and sovereignty in the event of a hypothetical U.S. invasion. U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday threatened Colombia with military action similar to the one carried out in neighboring Venezuela that ended with the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. If such aggression were to occur, the military must defend the national territory and the country's sovereignty, Foreign Minister Rosa Villavicencio said during a press conference, adding that under international law, states having the right to legitimate self-defense. Spain will propose that its military would help consolidate peace in Ukraine once a ceasefire has been negotiated there. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez told a news conference on Tuesday after a summit of allies of Ukraine in Paris. The Spanish government will propose that we open the doors to military participation in Ukraine, he said, adding that he would discuss such involvement with Spain's main political parties. During Tuesday's coalition of the willing leaders of Ukraine's allies met in Paris to agree that security guarantees must include binding commitments to support Kiev in the case of a future armed attack by Russia. According to a draft statement prepared ahead of a summit, the draft text underscores how discussions on security guarantees have advanced in recent weeks. Even though Moscow has given no public sign that it would accept such agreements, Spanish Prime Minister also said Spain never recognized the Maduro government because it broke the rule, because his election was illegitimate, and precisely for the reason it cannot recognize the legitimacy of a military action that is clearly illegal, that violates international law. French President Emmanuel Macron said on Tuesday that the signing of security guarantees committed for Ukraine, including the deployment of a multinational military force, will distort further aggression on Ukraine. These security guarantees ensure Ukraine will not be forced to surrender and any peace deal will not be violated in the future. Macron made these remarks while speaking to journalists following a meeting of the coalition of the willing, which comprised countries allied with Ukraine. Macron said the United States supports the security guarantees set for Ukraine in the case of a peace deal is genuine and can be trusted.
Mr. Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic, signatory for Ukraine, Mr. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine.
Iran's Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei said on Wednesday, there is no excuse for those who come into the streets to take part in riots. Demonstrations in Tehran and other cities sparked on December 28 over a plunge in the Iranian currency's value that has accelerated inflation. US President Donald Trump has threatened to come to the aid of protesters in Iran if security forces fired on them. Days into an unrest that has left several dead and has posed the biggest international threat to Iranian authorities in years. The senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Raji Larijin, responded on January 22 that US interference in Iranian protest would lead to chaos across the region. After Trump's comments, at least 27 people have been killed during the unrest in Iran. Rights groups said as protests over soaring inflation spread across the country, sparking violent clashes between demonstrations and security forces. Before ending, we go through the headlines again. BNP plans to democratize politics along with economy, says Amir Khosrow. No force can depoliticize Bangladesh, says Moin Khan. Government bias towards one party raises fears of rigged polls, says Jamaat's Naib Amir. US makes up to Taka 18 lakh visa bond mandatory for countries B1, B2 applicants from January 21. You're up to date with our top stories so far here on SATV. And to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with us.